Back to Hardball. Today we learned fascinating new details about the plot that led to Osama bin Laden and the CIA safe house from which agents spied on him for months. This is going to be exciting for me, as well as I hope all of you. Greg Miller's national intelligence reporter for the Washington Post. Greg, congratulations. And really, this is storytelling time. It's good to have good news and how it was done. Tell me the story of the safe house, about how our guys, it reminded me of Gene Hackman in the movie The Conversation, just sitting there for days, hours, weeks. This guy under surveillance. They thought it was Osama bin Laden.
That's right. I mean, they learn about this compound in August, and then they bring everything they've got to try to figure out, is it him inside? And so one of the things you have to do is you got to have people on the ground. So the agency rents a house near this compound, one that's able to peer inside of this place, to keep eyes on that thing, and they're watching it for probably 6-7 months.
Wow. And did they get a beat on him with binoculars, with telescopic lens? I heard they had a mirrored window they looked through.
Well, that's the amazing thing. I mean, here they are. They're not only watching him from the ground, but they're watching him with satellites. They're using eavesdropping equipment, trying to get his voice, and they never get a clear shot at him. I mean, this is. The CIA people I've talked to about this say that the discipline that bin Laden demonstrated inside this compound was remarkable in itself.
They saw his silhouette, though, right? They saw his figure?
There was a figure. There was a tall figure that would go pacing back and forth. They even started calling him the pacer. And so they thought perhaps this is him, but they could never get a clear photograph.
Isn't he the only guy of his height, to be blunt about it, in that part of the world?
Well, you know, one of the things was it was difficult for them to figure out if what his height was based on their inability to get a clear look at him from anywhere.
Now, what did they figure he was doing all day in terms of his role? Now, some of us thought he was like emeritus. He was like the Uncle Tanus. He used to be in the Al-Qaeda, but he was no longer operative. But now we're getting information that he was playing a role. What was it?
He was playing a role, and we're still learning more about what that role was. But it looks like it was more extensive than you thought. I mean, for years people thought, well, maybe he's just in a cave, and maybe he's just not communicating, except very, very rarely to get these audio tapes out. But they found so many discs, DVDs, they found so many flash drives in there that those appear to be the way he was communicating with his network, sending messages, directions.
Thumb drives. Those little things you take around
Yep.
like a disc used to be.
Right, and those were the things that would come out of the compound, and somehow they would make their way through the network and get signals and directions off to others.
Now, do we know, let's talk about us, because we are always concerned about what's next, not just anger about him being caught, but what he was planning. This idea that he was going to strike a number of American railroads, passenger trains perhaps, at the same time in one of these dramatic 9/11/11. It would be this 11, so it'd be 9/11/11 kind of thing. Do we know if that was his idea?
I don't know if it's his idea. It appears to be something that was recorded on some papers that were found in that bedroom where he was killed. And so this is clearly either a plan that he was involved in putting together or was reviewing in a very personal and direct way.
So, you know, I was thinking of a paradigm. It's almost like an underworld figure who gets put away in hard time. And he's in prison, and he's still calling the shots for a family, a mob organization.
And he's got all of that time. I mean, he's got nothing else to distract him, right? He's spending all of his time just thinking about those things.
And no evidence at all, it seems, because they caught him in the dark, basically asleep. They roused him, right? They rousted him. Well, in other words, they were able to stay there, have him under surveillance from that safe house, and he never detected he was in trouble.
That was one of the biggest worries about this operation. I mean, this is a very delicate thing for the CIA to do, to put people on the ground.
Are they Americans, or are they people that look like the local people, the Pakistani people?
I think what you would have found, most likely, is if you looked inside the safe houses, you're going to find Americans. You're going to find CIA case officers.
Well, they stayed undercover then.
Who were staying undercover, staying inside, not venturing outside much, and using all their equipment to monitor this compound. But they're also running networks of Pakistanis who may be Pakistani Americans, maybe Pakistanis that
there's a lot of people
CIA, who are being used to blend into this neighborhood, into this city.
So we have really, well, let me ask you the question, open-ended. Have we advanced in human intelligence since 9/11?
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, I think that the agency has learned so much, as much as the military has changed through the experiences of the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. The agency has changed.
If we get rid of don't ask, don't tell completely, it's going to help too, right? A lot of the linguists were gay people that were being harassed.
That I don't know, but
I follow everything, and that's one. Let me ask you about this. When you close your eyes and you imagine being the reporter that covers intelligence, what does Al-Qaeda look like to you globally right now? Is it a bunch of broken up pieces? Is it still a network that communicates?
Look, the al-Qaeda today, for the first time, acknowledges bin Laden's death in a message that they put up online, and there's a sort of an appeal built in there. Can we hold this thing together, guys? Stay committed to the cause. But the biggest question is going to be, does this thing just sort of spiral out into a bunch of lesser, smaller, less connected organizations because you don't have that inspirational figure there tying it all together?
If you were working with the TSA or something in this country, working with our Homeland Security, would you fear they'd go ahead with that railroad attempt on the 11th of this September?
I think that you have to be prepared for all of these things. I think that I'm sure that the agencies are concerned that there are people in place and they're scrubbing all of these computers and drives looking for other plots that are just. Who knows whether they're in the planning stages? Who knows how far along they are toward execution? And if we've learned anything, it's that you can't be too safe. You
got a fascinating role. Thank you for that. Thanks for coming on, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Tonight, Greg Miller of the Washington Post, which still covers agencies of the government better than anybody.